So here are the progressive movement headlines for Wednesday, July 1st. Oklahoma voters have approved a ballot measure to expand Medicaid to around 200,000 low-income adults amid a sharp rise in new coronavirus infections. The vote makes Oklahoma the first state in the nation to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act by amending its constitution. This is a move that could forestall efforts by the Republican-dominated legislature in that state to, do what they want to do, which is gut that program. The initiative requires the government of Oklahoma, which has, by the way, the second highest uninsured rate in the nation, to submit Medicaid expansion paperwork to the federal government within 90 days, potentially derailing an effort by the Republican governor there and the Trump administration to slash the state's Medicaid funding by turning it into a block grant. That is what they're working on. So perhaps we can get around it. That is potentially some good news. Isn't Oklahoma where Trump had one of his rallies recently? He's going to a state where people don't have health care and then having a mask-free rally so that everyone can get COVID? I don't get it. Bernie Sanders is pushing for a slate of amendments to the National Defense Authorization Act. He wants the Pentagon to pass an independent audit, require the federal government to mass produce and deliver free masks to everybody in the U.S., and to stop funding for the Saudi-led assault on Yemen. A lot of stuff in there. All good ideas. Sanders has also put forward a plan to cut 10% of the Senate's proposed $740.5 billion Pentagon budget, and to use the savings to fund healthcare, housing, education, and jobs. In a speech on the Senate floor yesterday, Sanders reminded everyone that, quote, a major reason why there is so much waste, fraud, and abuse in the Pentagon is the fact that the Defense Department is the only federal agency in America that hasn't been able to pass an independent audit. It is time to hold the Defense Department to the same level of accountability as the rest of the government. Go, Bernie. We are behind you on this for sure. Guess what? There's a dog barking in someone else's house on the Zoom channel. Everyone, please mute their Zooms. Okay. The much anticipated climate report from the House of Representatives. Remember that? It apparently is a major disappointment. Doesn't even fully acknowledge the scope and scale of the climate emergency. This is according to the climate activists who say the report fails to approach the emergency with the kind of urgency that we need to protect Americans, especially marginalized, by the way, and frontline communities, from the ongoing climate disaster. Laura Berry, the Climate Mobilization Director of Research and Policy, says, and here's her quote, the Select Committee on the Climate Crisis had the opportunity to put forth a comprehensive plan to protect Americans from climate devastation, but the solutions proposed to fail, they fail to meet the challenge of the existential planetary crisis we face. She is asking people to join the climate mobilization in asking Congress to declare a climate emergency, which would open the way to bigger, bolder solutions to the nation's biggest existential threat, second only to Trump's having his finger on the button. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch our video that we did with Joe Cirincione from Plowshares. It is on the YouTube page for ACT.tv. It will make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It is quite frightening to think about what Trump may or may not be doing with his button finger. Anyway, join that climate mobilization to ask Congress to declare that climate emergency. You can do that at climatemobilization.org. Great group, definitely. Go and put your name and check out what they're doing. And, do more than watch. We're ACT.tv, do more than watch. In other news, more than a dozen U.S. legislatures are joining AOC, our girl from the Bronx, in pledging to pursue legislation that puts conditions on Washington's military aid to Israel. The legislators are hoping to ensure that Americans are not complicit in Israel's illegal annexation of Palestinian lands. The lawmakers co-signed and released a statement yesterday addressed to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, which I'm sure he's going to read promptly and act on, but still, it's a start. The letter urged him to make it clear to the Israeli government that the annexation would be unacceptable. The letter reads, and here's a quote, "At a time when the American people are taking to the streets to demand justice for all in our own country, there is no question but that such an action would alienate many U.S. lawmakers and citizens." Palestine Legal is calling for a day of rage with actions across the country and recommended ways to take action from home. You can find out more at palestinelegal.org, palestinelegal.org. I think we've had many days of rage, so we can just pile this one on to, the ones that we have. Again, palestinelegal.org is where you can go and find out more information on that. And finally, Donald Trump named legislation passed by Barack Obama as his own biggest accomplishment as president. This happened during a town hall with Sean Hannity on Fox after an audience member asked Trump about his biggest accomplishments. Trump said, "We got Veterans Choice approved and Veterans Accountability. You couldn't get it for 50 years, and I got it." Sorry, I just slid right into that bad impersonation. He's talking, of course, about the Veterans Access to Care Through Choice, Accountability, and Transparency Act. And actually, Obama got it passed in 2014 after it passed through Congress with help from Obama. While Trump did expand the eligibility for the program starting in 2019, I'm guessing he was bringing it up now and trying to take credit for it because, one, he has no idea what he is or isn't doing or what he did or didn't do, and two, he probably wants to win some favor with military families right now, given the fact that he knew Russia was putting bounties on American soldiers' lives, and he did nothing to stop it. So that is problematic for the Trump administration. Those are the Progressive Movement headlines for today, July 1st. Stay with us here on ACT TV for more.